Hi, welcome to week 8 of the sermon series and small group lesson series called The Son. I really hope that this series has really helped you to kind of solidify a little bit of your life and how to become more like Jesus. Just as a reminder, what we've been doing in this series and what we're concluding this week is taking a look through the book of Mark at passages where Jesus is referred to as the Son of God or the Son of David or the Son of Man. And we're really breaking these passages down to figure out how we should live, how we should become more and more like Christ. Now, one of my favorite illustrations of this concept that we're talking about this week of the return of Christ is that back in World War II, there was a day when all the Allied forces they invaded Normandy, and this day became known as D-Day. And D-Day was the day when the war turned in Europe, and the whole war kind of shifted, and the Allied forces really took hold, and it was almost as if on that day is when the war kind of became known as it was won. We had won the war, but we still had to keep fighting and just kind of solidify our hold on the war. The war wasn't actually over, but for all reality and all purposes, it really was. But the war wasn't officially over until V-Day. V-Day is the day when basically the treaties are signed, all the sides agree to stop fighting, the war is over. And the reason I bring this up is because it's almost as if D-Day was the first coming of Christ. That when he came and he was crucified and resurrected, that at that point, the war was over. The war with Satan and his minions was over. But still, we're still thwarting Satan's plans today, and we're still conquering over sin. We're still fighting this battle. But it'll officially be over when Christ comes back. When he returns, that will be our V-Day. Now, the whole reason that I'm bringing this up, and the return of Christ is imminent. Sometimes we get caught up thinking about when and how this is going to happen, or even what's going to happen after the return of Christ. But those are details we all have opinions on. We can all teach our side and really get at the point of what we think is going to happen. But the gist of everything, Jesus himself said, nobody knows the day or the hour. No one knows when I'm going to return. We have to capture this. We have to capture this because in Matthew chapter 25, he gives us 3 different parables, all of them basically saying, no one knows when I'm going to come back, but there are things you need to be doing while I'm gone. Stay awake. Be prepared for me to come back. Now, a biblical illustration of this is if you go back to the Old Testament. Remember in week 4 we talked about rest. And this concept was based on the Old Testament idea of the Sabbath day. Sabbath day was a day that God instituted to be a day of rest. But the day before the Sabbath day was called the day of preparation. And the way that I like to think of this is consider the first part of the week before the 6th day, before the day of preparation, as your life before you came to Christ. And then the day of preparation is that day after you came to Christ. And then on the Sabbath day, that's after Christ returns and we're all in heaven. The writer of Hebrews, in chapter 4, he talks about this eternal rest, this eternal Sabbath that is waiting for the people of God. And so if we think about it like that, the whole reason that they had a day of preparation was because if you're going to take a whole day and do no work and you're just going to rest, then on the day before that, you have to make sure everything's in order. Anything that you want to have prepared, your meals, any kind of thing that you're going to do while you're resting, any reading or whatever, you have to make sure everything's in order. So you have to take a day to prepare for the day of rest. And that's our life after we come to Christ. It's a time of preparation to become more and more like Jesus, so that when we get to heaven, we're already working towards that goal of being like the one that will be in his presence for eternity. And it's that eternal value system that just really creeps up on us as we begin to live our lives out, and we become less selfish. We do serve. We do thwart evil. We have mercy on others. There's so many implications of this. But the real crux of the biscuit is that this is what motivates us to become like Jesus. We've talked about this whole series. All of these things that we've studied, we want to be more like Jesus. And why? Because He's coming back. And we don't know when He's going to come back, but He wants us to be ready. He wants us to be like those wise virgins that had their oil for their lamps. And when He came in the middle of the night, they were ready. He doesn't want us falling asleep and not prepared when He comes back. So think about this week. What if you knew Jesus was going to come back this year? How would it change the way you live? That's really what all this is about. We know He's coming back, but we don't know when. It could be in the next 5 minutes. It could be in the next 50 years. It could be for the next 5,000 years. We don't know. But if we know He's coming back, and we know it could be any minute, it really should motivate us to live like Him, to be His disciples in the world. So as you do this lesson this week and discuss this with your small group, really try and help each other to figure some of these things out. There's a whole lot of implications, and there's a whole lot of details of the way that we live that can be wrestled with. So I hope that this helps you to really take hold of that idea and become more like Christ in your life. Everybody have a great week, and thanks for watching.